Hi, it's been a minute, hasn't it? You probably forgot me. I totally understand that. I would have forgotten me too. I may have already forgotten myself. I don't know. It has been a crazy 7 months. 7 months? Is that what it feels like? The past 7 months have actually been a decade. And it feels like 2026 has already been 5 years. You know what I'm talking about. So, the reason why I'm doing this, I'm going to confess here, is that I'm doing a test with an external drive connected to my camera because I have been filming clips for the second episode of Me and My Muse, which we start rehearsing very soon. I'm very, very excited about, partially because the filming that I've done so far is fantastic, if I may pat myself on the back for just a moment. And I'm almost done filming, and I I'm really proud of myself. This project has taken off. And well, the first time I did it, episode one, I was so nervous. I don't think I've ever been so nervous about a project in my life. But it was very successful. People loved it. And now I'm going into the second one with the confidence knowing that it works. And sometimes there's nothing better than just simply knowing that something works. Now, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about something that is is trying to help me get through the chaos and madness that is America. Not going to comment on it. I could go off on what's happening. I really, really, really could go off on what's happening because I got opinions, lots of them, and none of them are good. I've told a lot of people, okay, I recently started reading books about people who defected from North Korea. And the scary part of it is that a lot of what I'm reading sounds awfully familiar. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I would suggest, if you have the time and the inclination, grab a book about someone who defected from North Korea. And you're probably going to feel the same way that I do. I've read 3 books so far about different people who have done this. And each book tells a very similar story. And that story sounds very, very similar to what's happening now. Okay, that's not what I'm going to talk about. So at the beginning of the year, there were 2 things I decided to do. Not so much New Year's resolutions, because whatever. These are just 2 things that I decided I needed to do in my life to make my life better. Because prior to the beginning of this year, my life had kind of bottomed out and things were not good. And at the same time, now, before I get into that, I want to say this. No matter how bad things got for me personally, which is redundant, I always took a moment to remind myself that things could always be worse. And I would think about people in other countries, people with in certain situations that make my life look charmed. So, yes, my life got pretty bad. And that's not to say that I was shrugging off the things that were happening to me, because they were, it was crap. Let's just say that. It was crap. So when the new year came, I made two promises to myself. And the first promise to myself was that I was no longer going to beat myself up, that I wasn't going to stop talking to myself and about myself in a negative way because it was getting bad. Because when I moved out of the house and I moved into this apartment, I started talking to myself a lot. And I started answering myself a lot. And at the beginning, I wasn't very kind to myself. I was actually pretty brutal. And eventually I realized that the things that I was saying about myself was not helping the situation. In fact, it was hurting the situation. But that's not what brought this change about, strangely enough. This change was not about me reflecting on how my life was going or how I was treating myself. This change came about by me asking one question. And this came about one particular evening when I was really, really, really being hard on myself and saying some terrible things about myself. I didn't look in the mirror because I still don't look in the mirror. I said to myself, would you say that thing to a friend? Would you say that thing to a friend, especially to their face? Well, immediately the answer was no. I would never say those things to a friend or a loved one. Why would I? That would hurt them. And then it dawned on me. If I'm not willing to do that to a friend, why am I willing to do it to myself? Because the things I was saying about myself really hurt. But at the same time, I thought I deserved them. Did I? Not really. So it was simple. And that's not to say that when I realized this, that it was like a switch that flipped. Because even when I had that realization, I still did it. But every time I would say something negative about myself, I would follow it up by saying, would you say that to a friend? The answer was always no. And slowly, over time, I broke that habit of beating myself up. And I took it one step further. I finally said, it is okay for you to be proud of something that you've done, or proud of something you've said, or proud of something you've felt or thought. And that's why now, at this point, I can look back on the first episode of Me and My Muse and say, that was really good. I'm really proud of what I created. And then later on, I had another script of mine performed on stage. It was called Misfit Christmas. And I was actually in it, which was an absolute joy. And it was a success. It was a big success. And that led me to then, okay, so I had written a script for a theater company about 3 years ago. And I didn't have the courage to send it to them. I don't know why. I just didn't have the courage to do it. And after Misfit Christmas was over, and after I heard the reactions of the audience and how much they loved it, I thought, why am I afraid to send this script, a script that I know is good? Why am I afraid to send that out? If I don't send it out, nothing will ever happen to it. If I send it out, something can happen to it. Something could possibly happen. So with all of this change, I just said, if a friend of yours wrote this script and you read it, and that friend said, I'm thinking about submitting it to this theater, what would you say to them? Would you say, nah, it's not worth it? Or would you say, go for it? The answer was pretty clear, and I went for it. Now, I haven't heard back yet. I know that the artistic director is reading it this week, and I've got my fingers crossed. I think it's a very good. I actually sent it to another theater company, and the artistic director reached out to me and said, this is really good. I laughed the whole time I was reading it, but I think you should submit it to this theater company because it's perfect for their mission. And then he followed up by saying, I want to be in this. So that helped give me the courage to go, what's there to lose? What is there to lose besides a car who needs to get a new muffler? If you heard that, I don't know if you heard that or not. So, okay, that's the first thing that happened at the beginning of the year, the first change I made. The second change is something I believe that, well, everybody should do the first thing. Stop beating yourself up. Stop being so hard on yourself. Start accepting your wins and don't blow them off as luck. You did something. You did something good. You deserve that pat on the back, even if it's you patting yourself on the back. Okay, the next thing is more outward. It's more external. And I think this one has, so far, it's had a pretty profound effect. Not on me, but on other people. What I decided was, if I think of something nice about someone, I have to say it to them. Now, before you think it, this is not, it's not creepy. It's not me going, oh, I think that person's sexy, I better tell him. No, it's not about that. Don't do that, because, that could cross some lines. I mean, unless it's your significant other or something like that. So here's an example. So I was filming a rehearsal of a show, and it was directed by someone who was very dear to me. And at the end of the rehearsal, so the show was the majority of the performers in the show were all high school kids. They were all very, very talented. And at the end of each rehearsal, this director would lead them through a meditation. And I used to do that when I taught at a small college in Indianapolis. I would always lead the students through a meditation, and they loved it. But at the end of the meditation, the director said, I want you to remember that you all matter and that you are all heard. That is something that every kid should hear. I didn't hear it when I was growing up, and it had a profound effect on me, a profound negative effect on me. So she said those things, and she walks over to the table where I'm sitting, and I looked at her and I said, I hope you know how special of a person you are. And she almost started crying, because I know that she is just as hard on herself as I have always been. And she needed to hear that. And her reaction to that verified what I thought, that saying nice things to people has a positive effect on them. And here's the thing. You never know what someone is going through. You never know how crappy of a day someone is having. And that one simple gesture that you make could turn their day around, could turn their life around. Now, this isn't about being selfish. This isn't about me saying, "Ooh, I did something good." This is about me saying, "I did something good for someone else." And that's what matters. It's not about me patting myself on the back or saying, "Oh, look what I did." And that's not what I'm not doing here. I'm not saying, "Hey, everybody, I'm a good person because I say good things about people." No, that's not what it's about. It is literally about helping other people. Because I've had people in the last 7 months say things to me that I didn't believe. You're a good person. What makes me a good person? I don't know. But when they say these things, especially when multiple people say these things, you got to believe them. I I have a rule for my writing career that if I send a manuscript out to beta readers, let's say I send a manuscript out to 5 beta readers, and one of those beta readers points out something they think is a problem, but none of the other beta readers say that. The other beta readers think that that particular thing is very good. So I made it a rule a long time ago that I will always believe the majority. So if 4 people say X is great and one person said X is not so great, I'm going to believe the 4 people because those people aren't talking to one another. So I think I've realized that if I can apply that to my writing career, why can't I apply that to my personal life? If 5 people at different times, especially who don't know each other, say you're a good person, then there must be something about who I am or what I do that inspired them to say that. Why wouldn't I believe that? Why would I shrug that off and think, yeah, they don't know what they're saying? Of course they know what they're saying. They're seeing me from the outside. They don't get to see me from the inside where all the gears turn constantly to remind me how much of a failure I am. Of course, now I don't think those things. Look, life is hard. Life is very, very hard. And the world outside doesn't want to make it any easier for you. In fact, the way things are going, the world outside is pretty insistent on making your life crap. And you have to do anything that you can to avoid letting those external influences take you down. Because I don't know if it's going to get any better anytime soon out there. And I certainly know with certain people, it's not going to get any better in here unless someone gives them permission to let it be better. And what I'm doing right now is I'm giving you permission to shrug off all of those negative things you think about yourself and replace them with positive things. That's not to say let that positivity inflate your ego until no one wants to be around you, because I think we've all had those people in our lives. So while you're patting yourself on the back, which is not a bad thing, just keep your ego in check. It's a balance. It's all about balance. And if you tip the scales in such a way that your life kind of balances out, your opinion of yourself balances out, things will get so much better. I'm not saying that my life has finally righted itself, that sunshine is just beaming from my pores. That's not what I'm saying. My life is still, there's still a lot of challenges in my life. And some of those challenges, eh, not so easy. But I balance that by trying to be positive, especially being positive about myself. Because I can look in the mirror now and say, you're going to get through this. You're resilient as hell. And you're going to get through this. And I want you to do the same thing. Help yourself. Don't hurt yourself. Because there are people out there who love you and need you and respect you and want you to think positively about yourself. So give it a try and see if it helps. I bet it will. Now, I don't know how often I'm going to be back here because I'm pretty busy, but I'm going to try because I miss hoping to help you because that's what this is all about. And if I can just help one person, then this has been worth it. So hopefully, this time around, I've helped someone. Anyway, thank you for your patience. And maybe everybody's kind of forgotten about me, probably, which is understandable. Oh, look what I did. I bet you haven't forgotten me. You probably got the announcement that I posted something new and you're like, oh, got to go see what he says. Or maybe not. Anyway, please, if you know someone in your life that could use these words, that could use the encouragement and the okay to be kind to themselves, share this with them. All right? In the meantime, I hope that you and everyone you know and love have a wonderful, wonderful day.